this shirt should. This shirt.
Is it a bit of? It's a bit of a Burberry effect. But what is the?
Do you remember the old test card transmission?
You think it's like that? What, with the girl with the puppet?
It's testing your colour, isn't it? Testing the colour. You can tune your colour in. I don't know if you auto colour now, surely, isn't it?
Well, we never done anything with that colour card. That test card, we never did anything with
Yeah,
that.
but when you had anything like that, test card transmission, couldn't you adjust your contrast and all that and sharpness of it all? That wasn't it? Didn't you do that? Or would you just look at her?
Yeah, the girl.
Dean and David walk the streets of London wide.
Thank you for supporting our channel. Thank you for supporting Wizan. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell for any future videos. It wasn't funny, eh? Those days are gone. 12 o'clock at night, she'd come on, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
And then she'd go off for what, 7 in the morning? Actually, no, even later, because breakfast television was like a breakthrough, wasn't it? Where television was earlier.
And they should play a national anthem.
Before or after?
At the end of the night time. So I'd say they went off at 12 o'clock or whatever, and they played national anthem. Then you'd all could go to bed then, couldn't you?
Yeah. You used to stand up though, didn't you, that?
I always stood up, yeah.
Stood up.
Only because we had no furniture. So.
Did you ever, when did you get your first remote control for the telly?
I can't remember.
It's got to be like mid-70s. Oh, 80s, no, it's got to be early. It's got to be
never.
mid-70s.
No, we never had no remote control in the 70s.
76, press button, 78,
70s, we had 3 channels.
79.
3 channels, 1970s.
When did Channel 4
BBC
come?
1, BBC 2, ITV.
Yeah.
That was it.
And you had 5 buttons though.
Channel
The telly,
4,
the tellies
I
were
would
sold
say
with 5
Channel
buttons.
4 was 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Channel 5. Yeah.
But yeah, it was 3 channels.
Did your buttons on your telly were like a really big finger
Huge.
that stuck out? And you just
Huge.
pushed them
Like
in.
a bit like an old 8-track, remember?
Yeah,
that? Big
yeah.
ka-ching. Yeah, no, there's no remote
Yeah, changing
control.
channels. Get up, change the channel. That was what you had kids for, wasn't it? To change the channel on the telly, otherwise...
Wait, did we have as many leaks then as we have now?
Leaks? In the telly or in the knowledge?
As in the knowledge.
Oh, you want to talk about the leaks one before you want to talk about the other one? Okay.
Well, we're straight in.
Straight in.
No, listen.
So you've come up with an idea that we should focus far more on preventing people from leaving the knowledge. As obviously we should focus on people joining the knowledge, which is we've done, and we've been doing that, maybe overemphasizing it. And we should emphasize a little bit more on the people that are actually doing it but give up.
I don't think we focus at all on people leaving. I think when people drop out, and there's always been this figure of 75 or 70%, whatever it is, that drop out. I don't know if that's people on blue books or people on appearances, what the breakdown is.
Yeah.
But someone who gets to 3.328 goes around twice and then drops out. God, should we be losing those people? Should those leaks be going? Should we not be doing more? If someone makes it all the way to appearances and can score on appearances but just can't progress up, then obviously... I mean, some people do, as you know, blow off. Some people shout and holler and will blow off and leave comments everywhere and shout. But the vast majority of people are a silent majority who just walk off.
Yeah. So they're
don't know
giving
where
up
they
without
go.
even knowing. But what do you do though? So you're saying in some way you need a plan in place that when somebody who's doing the knowledge and doing okay, but seems like they're in the mood of giving up, certainly free red lines, it's got to be the biggest factor in someone's journey through the knowledge where they think, I think I've had enough. Free, redlined, I've really had enough. I don't think I can do this. So at that moment in time, if I am the examiner redlining that student, do you think then there would be a safety net plan in place?
I think that working the examiners with the schools would have to come together and there has to be a plan put in where they come in and they have to be completely honest and tell you exactly what they're doing, how they're doing the knowledge, the amount of time they're spending on it, what their process of doing it all is, how much point to point, everything that they do. And they have to be honest, and then they get advice from someone like yourself, wouldn't they? And then
change that plan.
Yeah, and change it and come up with another plan. I know TFL, and I know the examiners will say, we're just regulators. That's a load of old tosh.
Yeah.
Because what am I? I'm nothing. But I'm here, and I'm willing to help someone. And I think if we all want to keep the cab trade going, keep the knowledge going, you need to do something. Something needs to be done. Why should people put in 2 years, 3 years work and walk off because they just can't work it out? Some people just can't work it out, the last thing. There must be that. And there must be a system or a way or something that we can help them to achieve the final getting across from 58s, 56s, 28s across into 21s and over the line.
You can definitely help them. And you know, one of the things that I often tell people, someone could be doing everything that you've told them to do already. And this applies in in sports as well. just changing that, whatever you was doing, change it to something else to get a fresh batch of motivation. So you do something slightly different. Even what you were doing may be very good, you should do something slightly different. So change your approach, get some fresh impetus. But in general, I'm going to say pretty much, it's going to be very rare that the person who is in that frame of mind of giving up is doing everything correctly, is studying everything to the optimum way that they could. That in general, they aren't good enough. I know it's going to upset some people. They're going to think, I was good enough and I gave up. You've got to have a comparison and to you and the level of everybody else who's on the knowledge. And the level of the knowledge is very, very high. Even the people that I would consider to be at a very low standard is a very, very high standard to the general public of what we need to learn. And if you're coming through and you're studying, you're in competition with those people and your level needs to be a certain amount. And I have a really dear friend at the moment and I keep telling him what he needs to do. And he's not got the time to study. And he continues to get D's. And he is going to continue to get D's until the day you can put in the hours that you actually need. So I don't want him to give up the knowledge, and I don't advise anybody who's in that position to give up the knowledge. You should stay on it and you should still take appearances until you can find the day where you can sit down and change things. And when you do sit down and change things, you will make progress. You will get through the knowledge.
Find the time, and that could be the advice. You could sit down and look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I've always said, and I've said many times, one of the things I did was give up TV, and I still don't watch TV now. Well, very rare I would watch anything. Normally live, like I watched the darts recently. That was it.
Yeah.
I don't waste my time on that anymore, but I used to. And that's just one thing. There's so many things you got to go through and find the time. Stop doing something else. You're not stopping doing it forever. You're stopping doing it. If you're, say you're 28 at 3-3, how long before you finish? 3, 4, 5 months?
3 months if you get straight.
You can't give up the telly, you can't give up the gym, you can't give up the pub, you can't, whatever it is, you can't give up some things and make some more time. Go and speak with your family as well, and whatever it is, commitments, go and find the time and come back and work with other people, get into schools and get over that line.
Yeah.
I do understand their frustrations, and I think they often people say things that they shouldn't say, but I shouldn't think you shouldn't condemn them for that either, because we've all said or done something in the past.
Yeah, but Dave, the difference between someone who's doing this part-time to full-time should be astronomical. And I've got absolute admiration for people doing it part-time, but the ones that are doing it part-time and not doing very well are probably doing what you just mentioned. They are not using their time properly. There's a lot of wasted time where they're probably zombieing out for a bit, sitting down and being a zombie, scrolling or watching. We say watching TV, but no one watches TV anymore. But they're watching their iPad or something when they should realise that is not taking you any further forward in life. Whereas if you was doing some point-to-point or calling Blue Book or doing other things, you'd be going forward on the knowledge and getting this done. So they are wasting their time. And
so you could come up then with a study plan. So, and it would be something on the lines. How about if I know the TFL will say they don't want to know because they're regulators, but if they was to give you a bit more report, I know they give you a feedback, but it's very limited, the feedback. And if you was an examiner listening to someone, you'd have a pretty good idea whether they were calling their Blue Books regularly or not. You'd have a good idea if they've been out pointing or not, because they're all vague and they're getting the streets around the wrong way. You get a good idea. So you could come up with a study plan if you was to get some feedback yourself about it from the examiner, or they brought their feedback, a better feedback. So like when you get to 3-3 or you get redlined, a redlined report that they could bring to you or someone at the school, and they can come up with a study plan. Go, right, you're not doing your Blue Books obviously as well as you should be. You're not doing, and come up with a study plan. Tell us because it's a one-on-one thing, isn't it? Because everyone's individual circumstances are different. What shifts they're doing, if they're working at all, working part-time, if they're working different shifts. If you start later in the day and you can do your knowledge in the morning, it's far better than doing your knowledge in the evening after driving 10 hours as a truck or something.
You've just made me have a little bit of a small light bulb moment in terms of every appearance. They should have a little random run generator that picks a run from let's say the 640, 320 in forwards and reverse. It randomly picks a forward or reverse run from the Blue Book and goes, well, that's your very first question. So you don't have 4 questions, you have 5. And the first question is a warm-up for 10. A random Blue Book run, and you just have to call it. And you'd be expected to be able to call it easily. It also gets you into the flow. So rather than hitting you with anything difficult or complicated straight away, we just hit you with that. There's We know you're going to get the 2 points. We know that it's something you should have learned and have meant to have learned. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to ask 5 questions, one of them being a Blue Book run. You could say just do that on 56s, for example. On 56s, first question, Blue Book, and then ask 4 more questions that you wanted to ask. That might help people in terms of the nerve factor, might calm them down, and also it makes those that are trying to cut the corner, because you get caught out on that first run, then really and truly you shouldn't be even being bothered to ask the next 4. So the first run is an entry ticket to the appearance, as it were. You should be able to answer every Blue Book run, shouldn't you?
Yes.
So, and given a little bit of nerves, and maybe being asked one that you always found difficult, but you still should be able to get through any single one of them. And that is then making that student definitely meet the requirement of having done the Blue Book runs as a foundation to build upon. So
it's vital. It's vital. The Blue Books are vital. You must call them every day. You must not get into the habit of not calling them and thinking that you can get away with it, and you just won't.
Yeah,
they will fade with time, and you'll sit in that chair and you'll be and it just looks awful.
No, I know,
and you can tell.
And we know as well all the ones that they're going to forget from experience. I know through all my cab driver friends. I know that when you go over Waterloo Bridge, they're going to forget that Lancaster Place is there. When they go leave Parliament Square, they're going to forget that Broad Sanctuary is before Victoria Street. All these small little implements, they're definitely going to forget Cromwell Gardens and Thurlow Place going into the Cromwell Road. They're going to miss all these little things because you're not calling Blue Book. And how could you remember them all? You can grasp the big stuff. But like we discovered as well, it does tend to be those that know nothing about London when they come to the knowledge are not complacent, and they get on with it and they know the importance of it. But those that actually have some preemptive awareness or knowledge of the shape and structure of London don't understand the full importance of being able to speak the language. They rely on the fact, I've got good sense of direction. It's meaningless. It's meaningless unless you speak our language. You can't describe to me how you get from there to there by saying there's a post box and there's a pub. We need the exact names of the roads and the turnings. So that awareness is meaningless.
I'll give you an example as well about people. I had someone come in here, and it was a private hire driver who said he was struggling with some points. Mm-hmm. I said, "What, all points?" He said, "No, some points I'm very good at, and some points I'm terrible at." And without saying any more, I said, "The points that you know well, you've seen and been to, or you know them from work or whatever." I said, "The ones you're struggling with, you haven't even been to, have you?" And the look in the face and the little smirk, I said, "You're trying to do it via Street View and things like that. And they're not going to stay anything like those. It's completely 2 different things."
Yeah.
Street View's great as a revision to go and have a look and remind yourself.
A recap.
But there's nothing like going there. And I gave an example. And the example was the Me Hotel in Aldwych. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I can clearly see that." And I said, "Can you see the Apple Strand Apartments?" He said, "Tell me anything about them. What can you see there? The door or anything? What's outside?" He said, "Nothing at all." I said, "Because you've never been there, have you?" He went, "No." And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's what will show. That's only with me, silly me.
Yeah.
What are you like in there in your suit and an appearance? Yeah. The sweat running down your back and all nervous.
What you've just hit on there, Dave, is that they haven't done it for a long while. I don't know if they did it in your era, but they used to ask, for example, the classic was Saatchi and Saatchi Gallery, which was at the time in Boundary Road in St John's Wood. I don't know where it is at the moment. Did you
go to King's Road?
Was that
Saatchi?
Yeah, it might have done. Yeah, in the square.
York Square.
Yes, it went to the square. Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know if it's still there. I don't know.
No. But at this time, it was in Boundary Road, and it was not easy to find. And the only thing that distinguished it was the colour of the door. And if I remember correctly, the door was grey. But if anyone can correct that, because from my generation, they will remember. But the examiner used to always ask, what colour is the door? And you had to say, because if you'd found it, you'd know the colour. And there was a lot more emphasis back then on the fact of getting us to go out. But again, I am the pre-Google Street View generation. And I can see the wonderful benefit of Street View, which is I can't remember if I can turn left somewhere, and the Street View is going to give me a chance to have a quick visit and decide whether that's up-to-date information and know that now, rather than me driving all the way to Harlesden to look at the street turning to see if I could turn left at a particular place. So that factor's good. Using it for pointing, I could use it for pointing, I imagine, obviously, for, let's say, Greek Street. SOHO, anything in SOHO, we could use it for point on that, because I can fully understand what's there because of the volume of visits you've made. But if you then make it somewhere where the volume of visits is low to zero, a road that you've driven down but not noticed anything that maybe is on the outskirts more, then really and truly the feeling and attachment to any point that you point there by Street View would be very, very low, if to zero. Very likely that you'd drop it. So yeah, there are advantages to using Street View in terms of that laziness. But then there comes another crux to that. Why aren't students now then better at knowing points than we were back then, which I don't think they are now better at knowing points than we were back then, because they've got this tool that makes it easier for them, but they're not better at points.
They're not using the tool correctly, are they? It's for revision.
Yes.
You're still supposed to go out there.
And build upon it.
Or unless you've been there. As I say, what's the point going to see your own house?
No,
been there many times, or somewhere you used to work at the BBC. What would you go and look at the BBC?
No. And Oxford Street would be the same. You know, we understand Oxford Street. We just need to know where it roughly is.
But there's lots you've got to go. You've just got to make that effort, and jump up. And if you don't work Saturday or Sunday mornings, they're great mornings to go out. Traffic's quiet, the roads are quiet. You haven't got to look around over your shoulders as much if you're on a bike, have you? And you go walk around in the summer. The
knowledge is so much now trying to not go out.
Trying to use technology, and that, I don't think Street View. There may be some people who could use Street View to do it all. And not saying,
there definitely would have been someone who's done it.
But when you get out and you try and drive, someone puts their hand out and asks for somewhere, and you've got you won't be anything like as good.
No.
And the reason I come up with it, I was watching Thames Water, and as we're always stuck in roadworks with Thames Water or Cadet Gas. And I just thought, we're always saying about getting people on the knowledge to try and maintain the numbers because the numbers of the cabs are going down and keep it going. But no one ever thinks about fixing the leaks.
Yeah.
So we're always trying
to you came up with the idea.
Pumping water, pumping more on the knowledge, more on the trying to just to keep the numbers. But why don't we retain the ones we've got? Because sometimes people just don't know. They don't know about how to move their life about, or look through your bank statement. When you start, and look what you can do without. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I've always said, I think a lot of people can't live on very low incomes. I do think I can.
Oh, you can though, can you?
I mean, I lived in a camper van for 10 years. Anybody who knows me knows that I...
No, I did it as well when I did it. I mean, I got redundancy. That's when I wouldn't have done it. But I did then went, right, and I completely changed.
Yeah. And the sacrifice that you make is so much less painful if you go all in and get the sacrifice done than it is if you try to drag it out. And it's actually in the long run costing you so much more than just the loss of earnings. The loss of your what do we call it? The loss of your impetus to live. You're being destroyed emotionally and psychologically.
Keep getting red lines. That's more time on the knowledge. That's more time not earning good money.
Yeah.
So you need to get it done.
Yeah, and you think that one day you're going to get out. There used to be an attitude, Dave. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the attitude was that you will pass out eventually. You just stay on it. Didn't matter how good you was. You could just stay on it and they will pass you out eventually. And there was some truth to it. But that was when the numbers really, really increased. And you've got all these people who are taking appearances, who are not studying, but they're on the idea that one day I'll get a badge anyway. And it did kind of work. But the new system came in of this redlining and scoring to counteract that. So now the constant redlining of these people that would be in that position would put them off. And that might be what we're saying, Dave. You're saying stop the leaks, and it could be, again, these people. I know when we speak to them, they argue that they're studying really hard. But
that's honesty. They've got to be honest. I'm not saying go up and be honest to TfL and walk in and say, well, I haven't done my blue books, I haven't done my pointing. I'm not saying go and do that. But if you walk into here, then you should be tell honest. The truth.
Well, you know the classic for me, Dave, is I ask people very often, I need to know exactly what you're doing so I can decide how I'm going to help you or advise you. And I say to people, how many point-to-point do you do a day? And they always say, I do a lot. And I say, no, my question is really specific. How many do you do? And then they say, I do the whole sheet. Again, 2 times the question's been asked, and I need a specific number because neither of those things mean anything to me. How many runs do you do each day of point-to-point? Or I do about 5 or 6. Right. We've got to the nutshell of the situation. You do 5 or 6. You said, first of all, you do a lot. 5 or 6 is not a lot. You do the whole sheet. 5 or 6 is not the whole sheet. You've got people doing I know this for a fact. Yesterday, Hilal and Reggie, they did 90 runs yesterday, point to point. So if you're doing 5 or 6, you are 20 times less practice than those guys in there. If I've got my sums right, nearabouts 20 times worse. And it all comes down to, certainly in this aspect, there's a lot of volume that needs to be doing. And the other thing I asked them is, your blue book, do you call your blue book? And they say yes. And then how much do you call your blue book? Well, I call it every day. And again, there's this avoidance of the truth of the question. How many runs do you call and how long does it take you? The amount of time it takes you is not super important, but it does mean that if you call your runs quickly, and this is the truth about calling your runs quickly, is it frees up more time to do other things. That's the only reason to call your blue book runs quickly, because there's so many other things we need to study. So get it done quickly. But if you're calling it slowly, but you call it well, that's great too, but you've eaten into some of your other study time. But you definitely should be calling, for me it's 80. You should definitely call 80 runs a day. And everybody I've ever met that called 40 runs a day isn't as good. They're taking their rotation over an 8-day period rather than a 4-day period. And after 4 days, when you come back to Manor Station at Gibson Square, it's as easy to call Manor Station at Gibson Square as it was on the 5th day. So it goes around, it's easier. But after 8 days, things start to slow down and you can start getting a reverse on the speed and the quality of what you do. So yeah, look, be honest. And this natural avoidance of actually answering the question specifically. You need some numbers. And when we do this video, Dave, when I put it out, I was looking at it today, I'm going to put my old timetable up and hopefully maybe make it as available as a download again. Just have a timetable where you look at the timetable and you've set out, I call Blue Book from 6 till 7 in the morning. I get up, I do 6 till 7 days a week. My Blue Book is done 1 hour a day. I revise points. Points generally can be done in the evening. You don't have to be red hot to do points. So you could be like 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the evening. I do 1 hour's points revision. But point to point shouldn't be done after bike work. It should be done after Blue Book, when your mind is a lot more fresh, you're not as tired, and you should be doing sets of 15 minutes. You should be doing 4 sets every hour, a cup of tea if you want to after the hour. Do that 3 times, so you're up to about 3 hours, and you should be doing around 40 to 80 point to point in that length of time session. And if you're not, then you're studying too slowly. And again, people would explain that I can't call that quickly. We're not asking you to call that quickly. We're asking you not to think that long. If you're thinking for a long time, you are going to come up with pretty much the same bad answer. You'd be better off coming out with the answer relatively quickly, letting it be bad, looking at it, correcting it and calling the correction. All that could be done quicker than if you try to think of the right answer and learn by the mistakes.
So stop the leaks.
Stop the leaks. Stop the leaks would be good.
It would be a study plan or something, wouldn't it? Lots of them. You could just come up with something. Like you're saying there, so you could say, let's have a look at what you're doing. Let's try. Try it. Some of these, as you know, are going to be charlatans who are trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and they're going to come and try and pull the wool over your eyes again. It won't work, and you still won't work, even if you come in here and do that.
No.
It still won't work.
Dave,
You've got to put in the effort.
Yes.
But you may just need help or advice in sorting out your timetable, sorting out working. Come and, if you don't go to the schools, come and, even if you want to sit and listen to other people call. Yeah. Just be quiet and sit there and listen. See them working. Yeah. Because I mean, I learned a lot by listening to people. When I first came to school, I was listening to what they were doing, going, oh, why are they doing that? Why it's always called, oh, yeah. You're learning. Oh, you're listening.
And you know, I mean, I'm going to give my friend Stephen Gardner a shout. When I did the knowledge, Stephen Gardner was on 21s and he was calling his Blue Book, and I was on the first 80 runs, and we'd call Blue Book together, which was great. He would sit there with me. But I'm listening to him rattle off Blue Book, lead by Matilda Street, right Copenhagen Street, left Caledon Road, left Carnegie Street, right Muir Street, for Rodney Street, for Penrith Rise, for King's Cross Road, right Acton Street, left Grazing Road. I'm hearing him doing that, and I think, I've got to do that. I want to be like that. Whereas when you're at home, you'll be doing it on your own. There's no comparison or standard or anything, and you'll be leave by Matilda Street and then right into Copenhagen Street, left into Caledon. You're a different league. So the ease that you can call your Blue Book to, I always used to say this, if you can call your Blue Book as quickly as I was calling that particular run just now, imagine how fast I can think it. I can think the whole thing in maybe 1 second, and it takes me 7 seconds to say it. But the thinking of it means that I can think, let's just take that simple Blue Book run, Thornhill Square to Queen Square. I can think from Thornhill Square to Queen Square in a whole instance and know whether that's related to the direction I want to go in. So when you're doing your point-to-point, you're using all of this speed of thought as a foundation to decide routes and direction. Whereas if you're calling so poorly that you have to let each run unfold, you don't get that long length view that you can get with that speed of thought. So calling over Blue Book, as I just said, calling over quickly main benefit is to free up more time. But there is a low standard that you must not be calling lower than. And for me, let's do the same run again because that's the only one we got. But it would be lead by Matilda Street, right Copenhagen Street, left Caledonian Road, left Carnegie Street, right Muriel Street, forward Rondish. It'd have to be steady, talking, consistent speed without too much thought and ums and ahs in between. But the fact is, once you can do that, you can easily up the speed of it and get it out of the way anyway. So, yeah. Stop the leaks is a very good idea. And the actual idea that you've hit upon is anybody that's in trouble, anybody that's struggling with the knowledge right now, you need to sit down with a blank timetable in front of you. Block off the hours that you cannot study in. For example, maybe they're work hours. Also, in those work hours, can you cheat and call your Blue Book during work? So where can you nick time from other people would be the thing. And then outside of that, where are you going to do the main core elements of point-to-point, revise your points, and maybe get out on your bike? Where are you going to fit those in and stick by it religiously?
Somebody on appearances, let's say they're on 56s. How much time per day and days per week would you say they've got to do? So they've got, let's say they put an hour for calling Blue Book, which is slow. An hour a day for your book, because you might want to break and have a coffee. Yeah. 1 hour a day Blue Book. What about points? You can do any points every day or not?
You should do points every day, but you could. The lowest I would go for would be 30 minutes, but you want an hour.
Right, so there's a couple of hours a day, Blue Book and points.
Yes.
Now, point to point.
You need 15 hours a week, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
And what getting out pointing?
Pointing would be any available spare time you can find. So most people have a day off of work. So some people are on a 6-day week, aren't they? Then the day off would be pointing. If you've got 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday, then those 2 days would be spent pointing. If you're doing the knowledge full time, then you would be pointing more day on, day off, day on, day off. Just go out with smaller feeds, because if I'm only having 1 day, I'm going to go out and try and get 100 points. If I've got 5 days, then you'd be better off going out and sort of getting yourself 25 30s, and over the week, and giving yourself a smaller feed each day so you're getting out more often. The main thing, though, Dave, is the 15 hours point to point. And in those 15 hours, be aware of how many you do.
So, but your hour a day for 7, it's a full amount of work still. But there's plenty of time in the week to find it.
Yes. Let's do the working day. So I've got an 8-hour day working. I get up before work and I call Blue Book. It's done. I go to work. I come home. Once I come home, this is the hard part, especially in this country where it's so cold. You come home, you get indoors. The first thing you want to do when the cold weather is want to fall asleep. You've got to find the energy to do your 3 hours point to point. If you can do that every day after work, you've done your 15 hours. But doing that 3 hours, that's going to, let's say you came home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you sat down and you started doing your point to point. You're now at 9 o'clock. Now, in general, what would most people be doing between those hours that are not studying something? What would you have done? Would you have done anything of value? In general, we don't. So that would be your job. Do those 3 hours. And if you can, if you really are on it and dedicated, I'd try and find some time in that same day to do the point revision. And then you're doing a very similar ratio of work to someone who's on the knowledge full time, even though you're doing a 5-day week working week. But we don't do that. They come home and they will zombie out, because I'm not allowing for exhaustion. It's going to be bloody exhausting. We do need to rest.
And if someone's getting redlined twice, should they send an email in or pop in?
They are.
To see if we can look at it.
That is their idea, though. The idea on the new system of redlining was that if you're continuously getting redlined, that they should take you to one side and ask you to come in and meet them so that they can discuss what is actually happening. Where are you going wrong? So they do have that plan in place. I'm not sure how much they've implemented at the moment, because it depends on how many people have already fallen into the category of continuous red line.
But I think people drop out, don't they? And that's the thing. If you get redlined, and especially if you get redlined twice, and it used to be twice, you go backwards.
Yeah.
But if you get redlined twice, you going, am I going to go for how much time is it going to take? And your head goes down, and then you make the worst mistake of giving up.
You give up, Dave, but I think you really are hitting some nails on the head. Most of those people who give up are not looking at what they should change. They're just saying, what I'm doing currently, I'm not getting anywhere, so therefore I'm giving up. And not really analysing, am I doing anything correctly? Is this something I'm really doing wrong? Am I doing enough? And could I do better? And if those answers are yes, you are, no, you can't do better, you are doing everything correctly, and you can't work any harder, then maybe, this is not for you. But that isn't going to be the case. I'm going to pretty much guarantee every single one of those people in that position are doing something wrong or weak that they could do better.
You need to change the system.
Yeah, they need to
have a fresh look at it to get across there, because otherwise you're just going to repeat the same mistakes in the next set.
Yeah. So anybody who's watching who's in that position, then you can get in touch with me and you. Come in. We'll give them a pricey, a wash down with an oily rag.
Yes.
And
we'll try.
Yeah,
we're going to try.
And we will give you a fresh plan that you can work to and a fresh idea, and hopefully re-motivate you, because a lot of it is just that little bit of spark of motivation. It isn't going to guarantee you're going to score on your next appearance, but I guarantee that if you are not doing exactly what we said, you will start to score.
Improve.
Yeah, definitely.
Improve. Especially if you're going 4-0 down. Something needs to change there. You're obviously not doing even your boot look. Something's going wrong there. And then if you're getting free, and cup finals and going backwards, that's majorly disappointing, isn't it? You're not far off. There's something you need a big push. Don't you just get over that line each time. I think another thing that people do is when they score and they rest on their laurels and think I'm doing it right, but you shouldn't be doing that. You should be each time you go for an appearance, look to improve and push more. Look, what else can I be doing? How much more can I be doing? Well, and always looking to improve and pushing. Because it's like you've passed that exam. You've just got a C or maybe better. You've passed that. That's behind you. Yeah. The next one's going to be slightly harder. Yeah. That's the way you should look at it. So I need to up my game. Instead of going, some people go off the ball thinking, I've cracked it.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Well, you've hit another nail on the head, which is the fact of the imbalance. I see a lot of people that are not very good having a load of emphasis on point detail. So they point something and they're very aware that they want to know every detail about this particular point, and they're very good at that. And that takes a lot of time and effort to do that for lots and lots of points. So their focus is very heavily based around the points that they're doing, which is very, very secondary to the skill of how do you get from A to B. So you're compromising on practicing the skill of A to B by emphasising having the skill of I can pull the point and I know how to get in and out of this particular point. That's very good. Now, we ask you from there to there, but you can't run anything, or every run that you do is all a bit off shape because you're not doing this part. And the emphasis is this, the absolute important part of what you're doing is how good are you at coming up with a reasonable deducted answer of point to point. Now, obviously, I had to know the 2 points to get that, and in general, you will. But there are these people that are overbalanced with their emphasis of the importance of points and not realising that the absolute importance is point to point. This is the absolute fundamental thing that you need to be good at. Nothing else.
And another thing, that what we'll do, if you was to improve that, stop people from getting too many red lines and get those people into it, getting redlined in here and help, that would attract more people onto the knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, that's the idea. So we got to, it's counterintuitive, isn't it? We've got to get people on and stop people from leaving. As the people that leave, though, it is heartbreaking. I really do feel for them.
It's a massive effort and financial effort to get to, especially something like 28 free. And you're nearly there, really, you know, and all that, and then to walk away and to never even got the badge. Yeah. And what about the ones who get the badge and they walk away and don't do the job?
Well, they're a different character altogether. But me and you are professional drivers all our lives, so we know what a professional driver is. And I think there's some people that must come to this industry who are not drivers by nature, and then when they get out there and suddenly they don't want to do this. They don't have the day-to-day regime of driving.
That's because they've got to stick for it. You must do it for at least 12 months flat out.
Definitely. And that really is...
No giving up.
Let's finish on that advice. Yeah. When you pass out, you should work yourself hour upon hour. You take loads of money, But what you're actually doing is breaking the back of the job, that you will be able to do it in a year's time with your eyes closed. Someone gets in and you don't realise that you've even not thought about the route you're using. You've just gone there.
And you don't care.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That comes with time and age, I think.
Yeah, an experience. Yeah, I've had the people say the nightclub. It was in West Central Street at the time, and it changed names all the time. I don't think there's one there now, is there?
Yeah, well, I remember West Central. What was it called? We had the lift. The doors were like a lift.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
was it called The End?
I think it was called The End.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
But no, I think it might be called The End afterwards, because back in the day, it's obviously changed names all the time. These people got in and they gave the name, and I didn't know this name, and I think it obviously become a new name or an old name. And I said, look, where is it? They said to me, you're supposed to know everything. And I said, well, I'm happy with the fact of what I know. You just don't worry about that. It's West Central Street. Fine. Get in. It's West Central Street. We're okay. I don't know the name of every nightclub or theatre.
I don't think it's anything there at all now.
No, I think the whole buildings have gone in.
No, I think the building's still there, because it's opposite the postal thing there on Museum Street, isn't it? That's just tucked in here. Is the car park still there? There was multi-story. Used to use it as a unit base for filming. They used to do the filming now, and the commercials in the club.
Next door to it's not a Premier Inn, is it? It used to be Premier Inn headquarters or something like that. Travel Lodge headquarters. Or
we're diversified.
We have diversified extremely well. Dave, that was a great little talk. Thank you for sitting with me today and having this little chat. I think it's another chat number 2. See you in the next one.
See you next time.